In this video, we will show you step by step how to replace the display of your Motorola Moto G60s by yourself. The device is moderately difficult to repair. The biggest hurdle in the repair is the removal of the heavily glued-in battery. You also should be careful to not damage the fingerprint sensor that is glued to the back cover. You need about 60 to 90 minutes to replace the display. For this repair, you will need the following tools. In addition, these tools can be helpful. You can find an original replacement display for your Motorola Moto G60s in our store on iDoc.eu/en. We recommend that you check your spare part for visual defects before you start the repair. This may save you trouble during the repair. Before the repair, we recommend you to check all functions of the device. You can use our checklist for this, which is linked in the video description. Turn off your device before you start. To do so, press and hold the standby button on the device and confirm the power off icon. Remove the SIM and SD card holder with the included tool or a bent open paper clip and then put it aside. The Motorola is opened via the glued and hooked in back cover. Heat the edges of the back cover and the fingerprint sensor with a hot air gun or a hairdryer. The sensor is integrated into the Motorola logo and glued to the back cover from the inside. Then insert a plectrum between the display frame and the back cover and run it around the entire device. The back cover should detach from the display. Then press the fingerprint sensor out of the back cover. If it does not come out, you should carefully warm it up again. Now remove the 7 Phillips screws with the appropriate screwdriver and put them aside. To avoid losing the screws, we recommend that you use a magnetic mat. You can then carefully pry off the cover with a spudger and then remove it. First, disconnect the battery connector. Always disconnect the battery connector first to avoid a potential short circuit. After that, you can disconnect the fingerprint sensor and put it aside as well. Remove the black foil from the battery and fold it up. If it does not come off, you can heat it briefly with hot air. Then use the hot air device and heat the battery from the side. Make sure that the battery does not get too hot. Afterwards, you can pry out the battery from the side with the battery spudger. Be careful not to damage the cables running underneath the battery. Next, we remove the speaker. Start by removing the 7 marked Phillips screws and set them aside. Then lift out the speaker with a suitable tool like the spudger and set it aside as well. Loosen both connectors of the connection cable with a non-metallic object like the spudger. Then heat the cable slightly with hot air and carefully pull it out. Carefully loosen the 4 connectors of the antenna cable with the ESD tweezers and then pull the cables out of the guide. Now you can lever out the USB board with a spudger. The vibration motor is glued in. Use some hot air to loosen the adhesive. You can then pry out the vibration motor with tweezers at the intended notch. Remove the heat protection foil from the front camera with tweezers. Next, you can loosen the connector and then remove the front camera. Loosen the display cable with the spudger. The mainboard is fixed by a single screw. Remove it with a screwdriver and then carefully loosen the mainboard with a spudger. Then take the mainboard out of your device and put it aside. Heat the earpiece with a hot air gun and use the tweezers to remove it. Make sure that the adhesive frame does not detach from the earpiece. Otherwise, you will have to remove the adhesive frame manually and transfer it to the new display. Gently heat the volume and standby cable and then take it out of your device with the tweezers. You can find an original replacement display for your Motorola Moto G60s and the necessary tools for this repair in our store at iDoc.eu/en. If you have not already done so, check the new display for any damage. Then remove the protective films on the inside. It is best to wait with removing the cover of the battery's adhesive surface until right before inserting the battery. Reattach the volume and standby cable to the new display at the designated place. Gently press it in place with your hand. Reinsert the earpiece. You might have to use the adhesive frame from the old display. Make sure to put the earpiece in the right way around. Insert the mainboard into the new display and make sure that it is positioned correctly. Then fasten it with the corresponding Phillips screw. Now reinsert the front camera and connect it to the connector. Afterwards, you can put the heat shield in the right position. Next, connect the display connector. Now reinsert the vibration motor. Make sure it is positioned correctly and then carefully press it in place. Now it's time to reinsert the USB board. Now reinsert the antenna cables. First insert the black cable into the corresponding guide and connect the two connectors. Repeat the procedure with the white antenna cable. Reconnect the connection cable to the two connectors. The arrow with the MB should point to the main board. Then press the ribbon cable firmly onto the display. The cable should lie completely flat. Insert the speaker and press it firmly until you hear it click into place. Then fasten the 7 Phillips screws. Now reinsert the battery. If necessary, remove the protective film from the adhesive surface beforehand. Make sure that the battery is centered and then press it down evenly. First, reconnect the fingerprint sensor. Make sure that the connector snaps into place. Then connect the battery connector. Always try to connect the battery connector last to avoid a potential short circuit. Place the board cover on the main board. Pay attention to the correct position of the fingerprint sensor. It should be on top of the cover. If the cover is seated correctly, fasten it with the corresponding screws. We recommend that you check all functions before finally closing the device. You can use our checklist for this. We linked it to you in the info box. If something does not work properly, check again if all components are connected and screwed in correctly. If everything works as intended, you can put the back cover back on. Make sure that the fingerprint sensor is positioned exactly in the center of the back cover's recess. Then press the back cover firmly all around until you can feel and hear it click into place. Also press the back cover firmly around the fingerprint sensor. Finally, you only have to reinsert the SIM card and the SD card holder. You did it! Your Moto G60s looks brand new again. Hey, if this tutorial helped you, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. See you next time. You can find high quality tools, spare parts and accessories in our store. iDoc, everything for your smartphone. Find more helpful videos here.